Hi there, hope you're well. Thank you for joining me on this third webinar of our series of four based on sales. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Nicola from Sales Sorted. We work with company owners, sales teams, sales individuals looking to increase their sales and make each sale more profitable. So I'll just go through before we dive into the webinar today, which is the 6 human needs, I'll just go over the framework within which we work, and that will give you a better understanding of how we make our strategies, put them together, what they're based on, etc., etc. So we'll just dive through that now. We've gone through this before, so I'll just fly through quickly. So authenticity, of course. So everything we do is it authentic? These are the questions that are asked before we make any decisions or put any processes together for people. Is it client focused? So we're not negotiable on this. We believe that every client experience should be delivered excellent. Clients are the most important part of any business. Without clients, without sales, there is no business. And everything we do is client focused, client first, every single time. Honesty seems really simple, but you'd be surprised how many people, when backed into a corner, can tell maybe little white lies. Is it honest? It has to be honest every single time. And transparent. Another detail we're not negotiable on is truth, honesty, and transparency from the beginning to the end of every single process in every single industry. Clients deserve complete transparency, no surprises either during the process and certainly not at the end. You're wasting everybody's time. So critical. So let's dive into today's webinar. So the 6 human needs. This is an interesting subject, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it before, but let's start exploring it, and hopefully it will give you clarity around your sales process, around understanding the people you're dealing with, what they need, why they need it, how you can deliver it. This all contributes towards the stopping competing on price. So there's many, many layers to this. I could talk about this for a very long time. I'm passionate about this subject. I don't believe we should be competing on price in any industry. I think we're missing the point. Nobody has gone into business to make a little bit of money and just make ends meet. We're going into business for profitable sustainability, businesses that will be worth something to maybe sell or whatever your exit strategy is. But competing on price is you're on a hiding to nowhere. I completely believe that wholeheartedly. So this is another layer to that. We did cover parts of this process in the last webinar, how to stop competing on price. So this is the next layer to that. So hopefully you're going to really find this interesting and be able to start applying it immediately to people that you're talking to and people that you're dealing with, and you'll see a difference. So first of all, the 6 human needs. So let me just break that down. So the first 4 human needs are essential for our survival, and we as humans will meet them at any cost. We have to meet them for our survival. Now, most people have a primary need, so it's more important than the other 3. Some people have 2, but all 4 need to be met. So we'll start working through these in a second, and it will start unraveling a little bit and hopefully become a lot clearer. So there are 2 more, the last 5 and 6 human needs. They're for our fulfillment, and they're on a more personal level for us to feel completely fulfilled in our life in a well-rounded, well-balanced way. And they're not overly relevant to how we apply the first 4 to the sales process. So we won't go into them in much detail. I'll cover them off at the end so you know what they are. But this is interesting to apply in every area of your life and not just business. So take it all in, soak it up, and hopefully you'll see a lot of value today. So what are the 6 human needs? Well, psychology teaches us that all human behavior is driven by our need to meet these first 4 human needs. And again, we all have probably one primary need, which is more important than the others, maybe 2, but all 4 still need to be met, and we will meet them somehow. So it's really important that through this process, when you're dealing with clients, you're aware of these 4 human needs. You know that this person sat in front of you needs to meet these needs. And if you meet them for the client, they're not going to go elsewhere trying to meet those needs. And I'll explain this further as we go through each need and how you can help them meet that need and avoid them going elsewhere trying to meet these needs. Because if these are covered, you're reducing the risk of your client going elsewhere, because they will typically immediately go elsewhere if they leave and one of their needs hasn't been met, because they're seeking to meet that need. Whether they're aware of it or not is irrelevant, but that is what human behavior is. So let's dive in. So the first one is certainty. Now, the need for stability, safety, certainty. So this is probably the one that I see. I personally think it's the easiest one for us to meet. And I think it's the one that's missed most often. A lot of businesses I talk to are missing this one. And it's the simplest one to meet. Let me give you an example. So from a business perspective, certainty, you can create certainty by, when you're talking to a client, maybe it's the initial consultation. What's happening next? And we've talked about this in previous webinars. What is the next step of your personal process? Is it an email? Is it a proposal? Is it a second consultation? Do they have to go off and make some decisions? They need to understand what that next step is. And when you explain that fully and attach a time frame to it, whatever that time frame is. So I'm not saying anything should be rushed, and that would help with the certainty need being met. They just need to know what it is and when it's happening. So a typical scenario for this one, not typical, an experience I had, which I didn't really understand until after the event, but I was on a flight back from Christchurch, and I have a puppy that was in daycare, and I needed to pick him up before they closed at 6 o'clock. So I was on this flight back from Christchurch, due to land about 4 into Rotorua, so about an hour away, as I'm in Taupo, as you know. So I thought, perfect, I'll be there by 5:15, perfect. So I went on this work trip, came back with complete certainty, all my needs had been met, I felt calm, felt balanced, and we start the descent into Rotorua, and the pilot says that the weather is very questionable. So he says we're going to have one attempt to land in Rotorua, but it's more likely that we'll go to Hamilton, and then we'll have to be bussed back to Rotorua, where my car was. So immediately my certainty has been taken away. Immediately I'm thinking, well, by the time we get to Hamilton, there's this much time, then there's the bus to Rotorua, then there's the drive back from Rotorua to Taupo. I'm going to miss doggy daycare. And it was so interesting that he was still speaking, and my mind had gone to, what time am I going to be back? I need somebody to pick him up. Who can I ask to pick him up? Who's around, etc., etc. My mind has gone completely elsewhere. I wasn't even listening to what he was saying. So how I'm relating that back to this is, when, say you're talking to somebody and you let them leave and say, I'll be in touch, is a classic example. I'll give you a call, be in touch. And they leave, and they don't know when you're going to call, if you're going to call, what's happening next. So they leave and they go and seek that need to be met elsewhere. So that would be a contributing factor to them going down the road to maybe your competitor. So super simple to meet. So please bear this in mind whenever you're talking to a potential client, and it's every step of the way. So every communication you have with somebody, what's happening next and when is it happening? And then of course you have to follow through on that. You have to be honest about that and transparent. And if that's a proposal is going to take you 3 weeks to put together, then it's 3 weeks. I'm not saying anything should be rushed. It doesn't meet the need any better. So really, really important. So think about that. So every communication you have, what's happening next, when's it happen, and make sure it's well communicated to the client. and then follow through on it. Okay, need number 2 is the zip. So it's the need for variety and uncertainty. So we've got the stability and the safety with our certainty. We know what's happening, how it's happening, when it's happening. Now we also need to meet this need, which is the opposite, which seems a little odd, but it's true. Variety, uncertainty. So this need can be met by offering a client, from a business perspective, offering a client choice. So it could be different bench tops, it could be different colors, it could be different handles. That sort of thing is really important to communicate. Some people may come in with quite a set idea, and that's great. But even if they have, I always think it's worth just making sure they are aware that they do have the choice, they do have options, and they can change things up if they want to, and it's not a problem. And then uncertainty may not be that important to these type of clients with a set idea. It may be bottom of their list, which is fine, but they still need to meet it to a certain degree. So just mentioning it, just saying it is an option, you've got these choices, it's no problem. We'll meet this need. The next one, I love this one, significance. So everybody wants to feel special and important and valued. And we talk about this all the time. If people feel valued and understood, you're less likely to lose them. And if they go away feeling like they weren't that important, you weren't that particularly bothered whether they were there or not. You know this, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but it's things that can slip away as we get busier and busier. And we've got more appointments. We've got another appointment in half an hour. I've got to keep things moving. You've just got to make sure all of these steps are met. Significance can be met. The easiest way is asking a client what's most important to them. And we covered this in the last webinar. It's important on so many levels because it gives them this significance. They know they're important to you. They feel valued, they feel understood, and they're much less likely to go anywhere else because that's what they're craving. So make sure this is happening with every single client that you're dealing with, and that is the simplest way to make sure they feel special and important. Number 4 is connection and love. Now, love's a bit extreme. Obviously, the 6 human needs applies to every part of our life, whether that be in our personal relationships, our parental relationships, our business relationships. It's always there. It drives all human behavior. So that's why I was there. We don't need it in business necessarily. But okay, so connection. Let's work on connection for this particular application. So the need to feel connected and that you belong. So this goes really hand in hand with significance. But that feeling of connection is something a little deeper. And it's, I personally find finding some common ground is a really good way to start building a connection. So when somebody walks in, it can be anything from the color they're wearing, the car they've driven in, a piece of jewelry they're wearing. It could be that their child's in a soccer uniform that, you know, your child wears. You know, there's a connection somewhere, and I think it's really important to find it. And it may not be immediate, and that's okay. It's just important that you find it, because if you don't meet this one, they'll seek it elsewhere and they'll end up going down the road to maybe your competitors. So take your time, but just make sure before you separate for the first time, so after that initial consultation, make sure you've ticked all of these 4 boxes. So certainty, uncertainty, connection, and significance. Each one of them. They're super easy to do, but if you don't do them, you're going to risk losing somebody when you really don't need to. And when you also tick all of these boxes and meet all these needs, people feel valued and understood. And when they feel valued and understood, they're less likely to go somewhere else. And you're also contributing to what we talked about last time, which is to stop competing on price. and people value these things. We know this, and they value them more than a dollar sign. So believe me, apply it to every single interaction you have with clients at every stage of the process, and you will see the benefits. Now, the last two I talked about briefly at the beginning are growth and contribution. So these are for your fulfillment. So these are, I'll just cover them off quickly just for your interest. So growth is typically continuing to learn. So whatever that may be, it may be continuing to learn what you already, so your business reading, that sort of thing. It could be learning a new hobby, it could be learning a new sport. So that's just us growing as people, learning something new, meeting different people, constantly expanding in our own way, contributes to our level of fulfillment. And the last one is contribution. So that's giving to something bigger than ourselves. So that can be anything from charity work, from, you know, taking your elderly neighbour a meal or getting their mail in for them. Anything that's not about us. It's about giving to somebody else in any capacity, really. And that really contributes to our sense of fulfillment, and that results in a well-rounded life. So if you have a think about the 6 human needs that we've just talked about, and think about them in different areas of your life and different behaviors that maybe you've seen in your spouse or your child. If you think about it, you can relate it all back to this. And it may be something as simple as their need wasn't met for XYZ. And you can certainly move things forward and change things by just considering these human needs. They're there, they're always there, and we always meet them, those first 4, essentially just to survive. Which sounds really extreme, but it's true. And once you're aware of them and you just take a step back and just see different behaviors in different people, and it really makes a lot of sense. And I've looked at many situations since I've understood this concept, and it's been quite an eye-opener. So just be aware of it, and yeah, just keep looking, and you'll be amazed what you find and how things can heal and how you can fix things just by being aware of these and making sure they're being met for the people in your world and in your business. So we'll just finish on, so when the client can see value, they will never argue the cost. We know this, we learnt this last time. And so the 4 main human needs that you're going to meet for your potential clients and clients will contribute to the fact that you don't want to compete on price anymore. So when the client can see the value, they will never argue the costs. So value, 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 client-focused value will do you no wrong. So thanks for joining me today. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out. We do work with many different types and sizes of businesses in different ways, from sales coaching to sales outsourcing. If you don't have a sales team, we can certainly help you with that too. My calendar link is below this video. So it's a no obligation call. It's just a half an hour chat together, and we'll just see what you're looking for or what's missing for you, and if we can help you in any way. So I will talk to you soon. You take care,